Well, I have important news to share with you. It's going to be a bummer for some people not, but it's a change. This is the first year I am not renewing my Timberline season pass, which I've been riding there, and that's been my home resort for the past 3 years. I'm going to switch to Mount Hood Meadows this year. I already bought the pass. So the differences are... Meadows is just a bigger resort that has steeper runs. Now, I'm going to explain why I'm leaving Timberline, because there's all these fanboys and all this hype around Timberline, and most people ride Timberline in the summer. Okay, let's face it. There's summer camping, summer snowboarding appeal gets people from all over the world to go up there, which most of it is on the Palmer Run, which is the very, very, very top lift. So that's technically their steepest run, or one of them. And then they build the terrain parks, and they have world-class terrain parks. Like, I don't know any place that builds better terrain parks mathematically than Timberline. But if you live here in Oregon and you're a decent rider, then you know that Timberline as a resort for doing groomers or tree runs is very flat. A lot of people nickname and call it flatline. There's even cat tracks that people get stuck in, and their blues, when you look on a map, are more mellow than like your average green run at other resorts, for example, like even Mount Bachelor. And people call that resort Flatchler because apparently that's also flat. So they don't even have like really any like full black diamond runs. There's a few black diamond runs at Timberline, but they're more of just like a cut down from the top of a ridge. So they're very, very short. They're probably like less than 50 feet tall. And typically there's like little rocks and cliffs, then the snow fills in. And you have like a little steep run, which is only rideable during powder. They don't have any black diamond runs that are groomed. Palmer does not count as a black diamond. It is very mellow, and it's super slushy in the summer, which makes it really easy. So I'm not even going to address that. So Timberline has been a great resort. It was a good beginner resort. Like I said, if you guys have seen my other videos, I started out at Arizona Snowbowl, and that's also a pretty flat resort. And then I moved up here to Oregon, and I went to Timberline. I loved it. It appealed to me because I was a beginner at the time. So being able to do pretty much every run at the resort and not really be scared was very comfortable. So, you know, you can cruise through the groomers, you can do whatever. And then they had so many terrain parks, from like little beginner ones to advanced ones. So there's something for everybody. Even the trees were a little bit interesting because they weren't too steep. So Timberline was really good, had a laid back vibe, and it was the closest resort to Portland also. But I like doing park riding when it's like the spring. I like spring slush park riding. I don't like how in the Pacific Northwest it gets icy so much, and riding a terrain park when it's solid ice, like that's going to be a no for me. I'm not trying to break a tailbone. I'm not trying to break anything. You don't have as much traction. Like it's just a recipe for disaster. And in the winter, a lot of the times the groomers get icy. And so, I mean, there's a few good days. Like, honestly, like, you know, it's not every day is bad. But for terrain parks on Mount Hood in the winter, it's either icy or it's a powder day. And powder and terrain parks is kind of meh. And a lot of times the crew doesn't keep up with the terrain parks on powder days. Like, they just bulldoze the jumps, or they put a flag and they won't let you ride it. So, you know, plus it's powder day. Why are you in the terrain park anyways? But yeah, so the spring, that's when it's really good. So I may get a spring pass to Timberline. That's what I'm trying to eventually say. So main winter cold season for powder, I'm going to be doing Mount Hood Meadows. Ski Bowl is part of Timberline with their Fusion Pass, and that's the place you go for powder and steep runs. But it's a lot lower elevation. It's like 4,000 feet, and they have higher chance of ice, and it's kind of hit or miss. So you can only really ride and have fun at Ski Bowl, in my opinion, when the temperatures get really cold and they get plenty of powder. Then the upper bowl is amazing. But I'm not going to pay to have that included for maybe 1 or 2 good days a year to ride some steep runs there. I'd rather go to Mount Hood Meadows, which has black diamonds, double black diamonds. They even have backcountry access gates and stuff like that for Heather Canyon and all of these like other bowls. They have steeper trees. They have little cliff drops. Apparently it's more crowded, but I just really want to like push my resort riding, because at Timberline, when I ride, after I do like a park lap, it's just going down really flat groomers, literally like with your hands in your pocket. I mean, yeah, you can try to do some carves, but like doing the same exact runs over and over again, trying to hot lap parks, it's not really that fun. And I just want a change of scenery. The other great thing, oh great, now my TV's like turned off, so hopefully the exposure is fine here. But Timberline is just, it's not that fun on a powder day because it's so flat. There's so many sections where if you don't charge through the powder, you will get stuck. And getting stuck in powder isn't fun when you have to unstrap. Most of the tree runs, there's barely any incline. So like if you want to cut into the trees, like you can't go explore really, really deep in the trees at Timberline. You pretty much just have to hit the trees that are off the side of the groomer, charge into the trees, try to keep that speed up, and then get back onto the groomer. You can't really explore, you can't do a speed check, stop, look where you want to go, and then keep going through the trees, which I've experienced at other resorts like Loveland and Monarch and Mount Spokane, and I mean I can go down a huge list of things, but it's nice to actually have some incline when there's powder and you're in the trees, so you can stop and pick your line versus just getting stuck. If you scrub your speed, you are stuck in powder. You don't even fall, you just get stuck. There's only a few runs that are actually semi-steep at Timberline that will allow you to have fun on powder, because other than that, if you're doing powder at Timberline, you're just going off the side of the groomer and you're hitting powder for like 20 or 30 feet and then you're going back on the run. So powder resort, Timberline, not that good. Beginner for chill groomers, yeah, Timberline's great. Timberline in the spring, it's amazing. They got so many terrain parks. They mathematically have like the size of the jump, how big the gap needs to be, how the angle should be for when you're landing. Like everything is mathematically formulated from the drop-in point. So you can literally just drop in and then go, and you'll get the speed. You don't have to worry about scrubbing too much speed. You hit the jump and you will automatically clear the jump perfectly and then land, and you'll ride away. One thing that I've noticed at other resorts for their terrain parks, they may have a really steep jump and then have like a really huge far out gap and then like a flat landing. So you hit the jump, you come down. Or they have like a jump that's angled like this, and then they got like a little short distance, and then they got like a steep thing, and you feel like you're going slow. You hit the jump and you just go flying to flat on the other side. Or the poppiness is a little bit off. Sometimes they have the lip too steep at other resorts, so when you hit it, it just springs you straight up and you don't clear out. Or they just kind of have some weird funky designs. Can't judge too much on rails at other resorts because I don't ride rails that much, but Timberline has some of the best rail riders in the game. So yeah, but when it comes to jumps, like they have it mathematically designed where you can hit the jump, you get the right amount of air, right amount of float, distance, height, landing, everything is smooth. It's like comparing a skate park that was built in like in the 1980s or something, where they just threw around some concrete and it was all like just not designed right. They just said, hey, this looks good, versus like a modern skate park now designed by like a professional company that gets all the measurements right and they know the angles and slope of everything. So that's pretty much how I would compare Timberline's parks to a lot of other places. So I just want to go to Mount Hood Meadows for the winter season, December and January and maybe a little bit of February, for their steeper runs, their powder, their more challenging terrain, because there's no challenge when it comes to the terrain at Timberline. At my level and what most of my friends think, Timberline is just good for parks. So park laps, that's all. Which is why I'll probably just do a spring pass, because it's very cheap and then I can do hot laps then when the snow is soft and they have all their jumps built. So Meadows for resort riding and having fun and powder and all of that in the winter, and then spring I'll go to Timberline. So no Timberline this winter, I'm sorry, but I'll be doing a bunch of travels because I have my Epic Pass and an Indy Pass, and so I mean I'll barely even be riding Mount Hood unless it's like a random weekday that I'm stuck here. So I'm not too worried about on the rivalry, but I would really like to check out Meadows again, and that's why I got a pass, because Mount Hood Meadows I went to during my first year of riding, so I was really limited on what I could do. And so now I just want to really like fine tune and push myself to do steeper runs, so when I do travel and I go to Colorado or Utah or those other places, the steeper runs won't feel as steep anymore. So I mean, I've even been doing some off-piste backcountry riding, and that's been fun. And you know, I just want to keep challenging myself so like I can actually do bigger stuff, because it sucks when you're always riding a local flat resort and then you travel and you go to other places like in Idaho or Utah or New Mexico or something like that, and then you're just like, well, I'm not used to that, this is a steep resort, and so you know, it just kind of psychs you out. So you know, it'd be better just to like up my level, if that makes sense. Anyways, sorry about the snowboard video. I was just letting you guys know that I'm not doing Timberline this year after season passes 3 years in a row there. Now I'm going to be switching to Mount Hood Meadows just for this year, because honestly, I feel like I'm going to be moving out of Oregon soon, and I'm going to just like not get too much into like personal reasons and other things, but Portland's just going downhill. I feel like literally everyone would agree with that, and I have the ability to move and leave. So I will probably be trying to look for another city and another state to move to, and yeah, so I just want to at least finish my last year out living in Oregon at Mount Hood Meadows versus doing another Timberline year. So at least I can say that I've ridden both main Mount Hood resorts pretty well.